힘들에 얼마나 숨쉬는 집시들이
뭐야, 대충.
Just want to adjust the mic a little bit. Geshe.
Oops.
So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us so early.
그래서 이거를
I think we can get started because I imagine this doesn't work for people in the other time zones. So let us begin. Okay.
야 강가 다시 될래 여보 거기도.
So can everyone hear Geshe all right? And it looks like you can see both of us. Okay, so let's get started.
오예 돼서.
Decent.
오예 되네 다 강가를 되네 다 사겠다 나도 사겠다 말아. 저저 뒤에다 강가 다시 될래 또 되네 다 강가야 분도 이러와요.
So first of all, Tashi Dele, greetings to everybody, and especially on this day of miracles, Geshe offers you his Tashi Dele, his greetings, and he hopes that you are all well and happy. Oh, sorry, by the way, we can stream this. I don't know if I said that yet.
다 드리기 뒤에 되네 소지 쪼된 되게 뒤에 뭐야 빨리 저저 뒤에 세니다. 어느 로아세 좀 뭐지게 된다 다 저거. 안에 또다 뒤에 채워지지레스.
So this is a particularly important holiday, of course, because this holiday commemorates the time where, in order to benefit sentient beings and dispel doubt, that the Buddha manifested many miraculous deeds.
어느 떠니 달하도 모두 들이 다 가져 침모모야 바지 가져 메와서야 또 마고비 생제게 된다. 어느 체다 다 이지도 들이 다 때모도 여보줘야 된다. 다 저
So the time of manifesting these miracles was for several purposes, for the humans and especially the devas or the gods, the celestial beings who were possessed of the affliction of pride, in order to manifest these miracles to humble them and to make them ready for spiritual practice. And then in addition to that, also to create the conditions for the benefit of sentient beings and especially the doctrine to abide for a long time.
다 던지게 디세텔 다 간조요 되네. 되는 게 가서 벌써 주바치도 봐 이나요 되네. 소소소라 니가 계속 다도 계속 다 벌써 주바치라요.
And then also during this time, if we are able to engage in these practices, this will also create the causes for us to be able to work towards and to achieve both temporary and ultimate happiness.
다 들이가서 봐봐. 저대 대제 소주도 다 간조를 같이 요요.
And so then today we will be doing the Mahāyāna Posada, the Tekshen Sojong or Mahāyāna Precepts ritual.
다 노지 되네. 대제 소주도 전도 가리. 안에 뉴니 그다 보게. 저가 전다 지와라.
뉴네.
말에 가리.
니네.
그 돈바도 대제 소주가 돈바니 뭐도 뿌이자지 바래 되네. 다 끊어줘. 만다와 미조 만다와 이자 채와서 되는 거는
So then in terms of the various kind of temporary precepts that we can take, we have this ritual of the Mahāyāna Posada, the Mahāyāna precepts, as well as the ritual of the one-day precepts. And so in terms of the objects of abandonment, in other words, the activities that you're supposed to refrain from, these are going to be the same in both of these systems. But in terms of the underlying motivation, the motivation which one brings forth for the practice, then there is a difference between the one-day vows commonly given and this one-day Mahāyāna practice, the Mahāyāna precepts.
어쩌지 덱시가리라 되는 슝아레서나 gello 마빠모 그더니 하고서와 콜로그다 로조시엔요래 야보 시비탈더니 투지 첨부 투니에도 제네를 샹에서 지네라 아니 되게 소주가 메마데 용와치더니 이사레스.
And so in terms of how these instructions became to be well known and well propagated, we have Bhikshuni Palmo, Gelungma Palmo, who we must thank for that, who based upon her very sincere study and practice was able to encounter Avalokiteshvara Chenrezi, the Buddha of compassion, directly and receive these instructions and propagate them.
어다 쪼쪼지데 당간조 부자 지바르 부자 제요하러 왔어 자와제 도더니 야라 제요하레스.
So then in terms of the activities that we refrain from, in other words, the objects of abandonment, there are 8. 4 of them are considered the root practices of abandonment, and 4 of them are considered the branch practices of abandonment.
어다 간조 디세 모베아이자 다 모보시게 하면 돼. 어다 수제 봉안에 주데다 아그서로 페르지 조조하고 그러와서 니가 고알 데비가라요 다소소 물려 비가도 간 단단히 주데 체진와도 든지 다 페르소소소 요아레스.
And so we don't have time because we have a short time this morning to go into all of these extensively, but just to give an example of the benefits, by abandoning killing, for example, this creates the conditions for us to be able to have a longer life, good health, and so forth.
다른 이제 연락 가를 총봉하라서 봐다 연락 가시 하러 왔어. 어다 총봉하도 되지가 다는 잼바도 시지도 다 시라도 간가 아파 땜보대가 다 든지가 배치고 야레스.
And to give an example of one of the branch practices, abandoning intoxicants, when we abandon intoxicants, this allows us to preserve our capacities of memory. This allows us to maintain our mindfulness or heedfulness, which in turn allow us to well develop our wisdom.
어다 가자 모시면서 어다 든지 다 든지 다 프리페게 하는 미도 다 세녀 미하고 그러와 선지 요조게다 순지 공부도 그건데 디체다 다 들이 이마지가 디제소조가 다 뭐다 다 벌써 줘봐지 제리 써봐지.
And so just in terms of the underlying motivation, very briefly in a capsule, we think I want to be able to benefit all sentient beings. In order to do that, I must achieve the state of enlightenment so that I can also lead them there. And it is with this motivation, for this purpose, that I am going to take the one-day Mahāyāna precepts.
더는 연구자 칼라마사와라 소바 든지가 다 제제한테 다 여다도 되지가 다 강에 매봐서야 쏘라고지.
And just another benefit, of course, after we take lunch, right, which we can at the latest begin at the noon hour, after we take lunch, by abandoning eating after the lunchtime period, this is actually helps us to avoid harm by hungry ghosts, other spirits, and so forth.
아니 오다 뉴네기 깔리는 전에 깨자 오무시는 데는 소야지 요하래.
뉴네.
던로가 그때 그게 강에 배워서야 또 들리고
And then if one is practicing these 8 Mahāyāna precepts together with the Nyungne, the Avalokiteshvara recitation and fasting ritual, one also refrains from speaking completely. And when one refrains from speaking, this is said to create the cause to be protected from harm by animals and other beings in this world.
아까서와 오다 어떤지래 다 뒷갈 칼라마사와도 깨자마시와도 다 갑변에 다 드리든 아주 대지소지 지보 히사 칼라마사와도 니저와스 잘라 칼라마사이 칼라 올리뎀버데도 드리슈와이나 드리그 강에 디가 가능에 tel라테네 뚱렌다고 소노토나 아니 냐와바 강에 강가 바존도야.
So also then, if you are not accustomed to, for example, not taking any food after the midday meal, there may be a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of suffering connected with this practice. And actually, when you experience that suffering, you can do kind of a practice of tonglen, thinking I'm experiencing this discomfort for sentient beings. This type of practice is said to be very powerful for purifying karma that would lead to rebirth in the lower realms of the hells, for example.
가리고 다리 너무 잔다데 대지단다 대지소조로와
대신소조 니네
어다 니네 가리에는 소소 지보기 체 소속에 소설을 뭐로 이체도 될래가 제요아레스오지.
So if one were to, for example, practice fasting after the noonday meal, in the context of the common one-day vow ritual, one does this with the motivation to protect and purify oneself from being born in the hell realm.
대체 소주 가리는 소소 다 보게 대야 대와 침비가 녀래 대신지 유주의 제대 이장 연소 설라서 봐. 된지 그 강연이 다 조전이 강감해 봐서야.
So, but since this is the Mahāyāna one-day vow ritual, one has this motivation that one is engaging in fasting after the noontime meal, not just to protect oneself from the hell realms, but so all three of the lower realms can be empty and the beings there can be free from suffering.
나로서 이나 생지 유주의 대저 그요 대저 바샤발랑 연소 설은 로스나 아니 거가 뭐 짓고 하고요 이자 된지 금듯이.
So then we also want to protect ourselves from going there because, as stated, we have dedicated ourselves to working for the welfare of sentient beings. If we were to be reborn in one of the three lower realms, our faculties, our capacity to benefit those beings will be greatly limited. So for that reason, we want to create the cause to avoid such a rebirth.
다 손지제 이제 도마레 다시 코로스 관계 있는 게 돈바트 돈볼로는 배바 이제 나로서 다 된노지 때문에 소배 가빈 거네.
So Buddha, Tara, all of these beings, they engaged in the practice of taking these one-day vows and hence reached enlightenment, and so we must practice in the same way.
하긴 거죠. 있을 말로.
돈바 좀된데 직보되기레스 제바추니죠.
서서히 그래 서서히.
So we'll begin with the praise to the Shakyamuni Buddha before we do the ritual, and I'll also recite the prayer of the 12 deeds today, being it's a Buddha day, but it's quite short. 뜸벌 좀된데 대신 제바자 좀바 연다바르조베 성계제바당 샤즈덴바 대와시 제댕겸바 제부드웨 칼로조라라나메바 라다민함기 뜸바성계 샤갸두발라 자zel로 제드 자즈지오 덴바 존덴데 대신 제바다 좀바 양다바 조베 성제제바단 샤즈 덴바 대와 제바 지덴 젠바 제부드웨 칼로조라 라나 메바 라담 미남기 덴바 성제 존덴데 베자와 샤갸두바라 자zel로 제드 잡즈지오 덴바 존덴데 대신 제바다 좀바 양다바 조베 성제제바단 샤즈 덴바 대와 제바 지덴 겸바 제부드웨 칼로조라 라나 메바 라담이 남기 덴바 성제 존덴데 베자와 샤갸두바라 자zel로 제드 갸스지 강제 간이조 계단제 사젠디나 공바 등원이 간이 지덴디나 조시순 대세계와 제라 자살로 난다 긍아 조드즈상아 예시 장소 세계넘보자 라바 지덴수나 라메와 공보 진이 제라 자살로 전조 덴바 지메 다이샤 세도 자와 la cha za lo de je ke ja si ba su ma chi nyame ken chen che la cha za lo gong bo tu je che den ba tam she chen ba dam ba bo sonam yen den ja zo jin de shen che la cha za lo da be de sha zhe wa ju ge wen yin zeng le zhe jin chi de dan dang chu zhe ba ji jo che la cha za lo zhe ne zhe we lam yang de la ba da la ra de ne xin ge dang ba yun den den gen de na yang cha za lo sang ye zi la cha za lo ge ba che la cha za lo gen den che la cha za lo zum la da de gu cha ze ja ja ye ba tam che la xin de gu ni zha ne gi le de ba ye nang gun de che de be cha za lo de ba ji cha xin ge wa bun zun zo ba che rang ge sem ne yong se de ni sang ge ten ba yin kama ra je ma me dan ju ma ze ba ju bo dan mi lam lo dan jin da bu de je che nan de da da se nan de tong je ze ba yi go ban de ne kin ge ja de ga da na dan chi we la je be si be ze le jo wa sho. We'll do a short mandala offering. So ji be gi jo shi me do jam ri rob ling ji ne de gem ba di song ye jin du me de bu wa yi jogun hamada jim ha che bar jo idam guru ratnam endala ka niryata yami che dan so ge che nam la jang che bar de da ne kya su ji da gi che nian ji be so nam ge jo la ben che sang ge jo ba sho che dan so ge che nam la jang che bar de da ne kya su ji da gi che nian ji be so nam ge jo la ben che sang ge jo ba sho che dan so ge che nam la jang che bar de da ne kya su ji da gi che nian ji be so nam ge jo la ben che sang ge jo ba sho. Oh, decent. So, in an easy way, according to your understanding, try to bring forth a meditation on the uncommon Mahāyāna refuge. And then connected with a deep and profound love and compassion for all sentient beings, to the best of your ability, bring forth the mind of bodhicitta. So imagine that as we receive this in the space in front of us are all of the lamas, the yidams, the meditational deities, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Dakas and Dakinis, and Gelungma Palmo, Bhikshuni Palmo herself in the space in front. So think, today I will receive these one-day Mahāyāna precepts. On this special day, I will practice them as perfectly as I am able. Yes. So then, in terms of how we recite this ritual, you will notice when we go to, hold on. You'll notice at the beginning, when we look at page 16 and 17, some of the practices will begin with Lope Gonsu Sol. Acharya, please listen to me. This is recited and repeated after the teacher when the teacher is bestowing the precepts. But if you are receiving these precepts at home and it's not in the text here, this is the reason you do not recite this line. So instead of making the request to the teacher, if you're doing this practice at home, then especially if you've received the precepts before, this is no problem. One brings forth the motivation of love and compassion, and then one can recite the words of the ritual. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. And so as one receives these one-day vows, right, a part of this ritual is a ritual that restores. So for example, if we're trying to abide in the trainings of avoiding the 10 non-virtues, if we've had some degeneration of that trainings, we can imagine that this practice helps to restore those. And so you're going to do, to the best of your ability, to repeat after Geshe to receive these precepts. Yeah. And so Geshe said that if you're doing it at home and so you won't say master or teacher, please listen to me, what you can do is you can replace it with the line Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, please listen to me. So what we'll do is we're going to go through the ritual. So in the text, we're on pages 18 and 19, but you'll notice, this begins on pages 16 and 17, but you'll notice it says, all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, please pay attention to me. So Geshe will recite something different. It's, O teacher, O master, please listen to me. Yeah. And as we go, we'll say, just as the previous Tathagatas, foe destroyers, perfectly enlightened Buddhas. So this means that just as those previous beings engaged in this ritual and maintain these precepts, so I am going to follow in the same way. Yeah. And then you'll see a line about various divine beings, including the divine wise horse. So the divine wise horse was actually an emanation of Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, who took on the form of a horse during times of a crisis for sentient beings, and in this way was able to relieve their suffering. Sotuba. Ale, tadenso. And a divine horse also in mythology was understood to be a very kind of wise horse that perfectly understood the wishes of his or her rider and was able to engage perfectly in all activities for them. Yeah. And so Geshe said you can also think of those very loyal and wise dogs that are able to understand the wishes of their master and follow along with many such sentient beings. And so it goes through various examples, the divine wise horse and so forth, and we can think of all of those beings in the world who are possibly emanations, who are able to engage in activities for the benefit of others. And so we think that may I myself, just like those divine beings, be able to work for the welfare of sentient beings. Yes. So we'll begin. So just do your best to repeat after Geshe the verses to receive the precepts. So we start on pages 16 and 17 on the text I have at the very bottom, and then we'll go to pages 18 and 19. So do your best to repeat after Geshe.
Lobe gonsu so,
Leben gonsu sol,
Jitang Ngenjo,
Jitang Ngengi, Dejin Sheba,
Dachomba,
Yondaba,
Zobe
Sangye,
Tachungshi
Tabu,
Lumbo Chembo, Chawa Shishi, Sheba, Kuruboa said Koi Pimbote Pamevazoa,
Sorry, again. So Kuruboa.
Kuruboa, Rungite, Jisu Toba,
Rangidun, Jesu Toba.
Rude Pusuba Doba.
So this next verse means to be able to achieve one's own purposes perfectly.
Rungite, Sipa Kendo Joa.
Rangidun, Sipa Kundu Joa.
Sipa Kendo.
So sorry, Tezgua. I don't see it on the screen. I imagine people are struggling with this if they don't have the words. Could we go down a little bit in the text? Because we're well below where we are here. Yeah. Keep going down. 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 We're going to the actual ritual. There we go. Yeah. So if we... Yes. Okay. So... Yes. So this is where we are. Konda gone again. So I think we should start from the beginning. This will just make it a lot easier for people to follow. So we're going to repeat Lopon Gunsu Sol. So repeat after Geshe. Yeah.
Jitang Ngenjo,
Jitang Ngengi, Dejin Shepa, Drachompa, Yondapa, Zobe Sangye. So following as the previous Buddhas and so forth did, we will practice in the same way. And like who, Tachangi Tabu. So repeat. Like the divine wise horse.
Lumbo Chembo,
Jawa Shinshi, Sheba, Kurborwa. And so then the next one is to exhaust the fetters of existence. So this means partly to leave behind the ordinary aggregates. Rangidun Jesu Topa. And this is to achieve one's own welfare perfectly. Sipar Kundu Jorwa Yongsu Zeba. Yangda Peka. Leba Nomba Droe Tu. Leba Nomba Droe Shirabchen. 대다기
세제 통제지 된제 셔동
샘신 탐셰기 둔두 칠당
펜바샤이 셔동
펜발자웨 칠당
조아샤이 셔동
조와자웨 칠당
먹에메바샤이 셔동
무구메 발자웨 칠당.
이소이나이다 사야면 강에 뭐 요하라와스 어디지
So here we're thinking to eliminate famine, so we can think of all those beings in the world who don't have enough to eat, right?
네메바샤이 셔동
네메베 자웨 칠당
쇼주지 쇼지 치노
정슈기 초기 춘어
용서조바샤이 셔
용수조베 자웨 칠
나나메바 용다바
라나메바 양다바
조베 쇼주에도
조베 정추두
네바 투비 셔
네바 토웨 칠
소종 용다바
수종 용다바
제바
제바
대저도
대신두.
대대페레 ngам도 사게치 다 나로 속에 있는 디제너레스
So similarly, I also, so similarly in the way that those previous beings, and then you're going to repeat your name.
다민도 시제이종
Da Mingdu Shijiwe Chung, so you say Kedrup Shijiwe Chung.
딘데네 즈웨테
Didine Sunde.
순니니마 마샤죠 바다
Sani Nima Mashagi Badu.
세제 통제제 된제 셔동
Semshin Tamshegi Dungi Chirtong.
펜바샤이 셔동
Pembar Jawe Chirtong.
조아샤이 셔동
Jowa Jawe Chirtong.
먹에메바샤이 셔동
Mugi Mebe Jawe Chirtong.
네메바샤이 셔동
Ne Meba Jawe Chirtong.
쇼주지 쇼지 치노
Janchugi Chugi Chuno.
용서조바샤이 셔동
Yongsu Zobe Jawe Chirtong.
나나메바 용다바 주베 쇼주에도
Lana Mepa Yangtapa Zobe Janchudu.
네바 투비 셔
Nyempa Tope Jir.
소종 용다바
Sojong Yangtapa.
롱와 저고
Lawa Jio.
달레 동보스네 레니바 용가지 지된제바셔
So that is the first recitation. So we go to the top of this section and the second.
로베 공서소
Lopen Gunsu So.
제당년저
Jidangungi.
대제시아바 다종바
Dejin Cheba Drachomba.
용다바 주베 송제
Yangdaba Zobe Sangye.
다중시 다바
Dajangi Tabu.
롱보 쳔보
Lambo Chambo.
자와시시
Jawa Shishi.
제바시바
Jeba Jeba.
크르보와
Kur Borwa.
롱게티 지서토바
Rangi Dun Jesu Toba.
시바 건도 조와 용서세바
Siba Kundu Jowa Yongsu Zeba.
용다비까
Yangdabe Ka.
레바 넘바 조이 투
Leba Namba Joe Tu.
레바 넘바 조이 시라제
Leba Namba Joe Sherabjin.
대다기
Dedagi.
세제 통제제 된지 셔동
Semshin Tamshegi Dungi Chirtong.
펜바샤이 셔동
Pemba Jawe Chirtong.
조아샤이 셔동
Jowa Jawe Chirtong.
먹에메바샤이 셔동
Muge Meba Jawe Chirtong.
네메바샤이 셔동
Ne Meba Jawe Chirtong.
쇼주주 쇼제 치노
Janchugi Chugi Chuno.
용서주바샤이 셔
Yongsu Zoba Jawe Chir.
나나메바
Lana Meba.
용다바 주비 쇼주에도
Yangdaba Zobe Jongshudu.
네바 투비 셔
Nega Tobe Chir.
소종 용다반 제바
Sojong Yangdaba Zeba.
대저도
Deshindu, say your name.
다민도 시지종
Damindu Shiji Chang.
소소미
Yeah, so your name?
소소라마서 딘데네 즈웨테
Didine Sunde.
순니니마 마샤제 바다
Sangi Nima Mashagi Badu.
세제 통제제 된지 셔동
Semjin Tamshegi Dundu Chirtong.
펜바샤이 셔동
Pemba Jawe Chirtong.
조아샤이 셔동
Jowa Jawe Chirtong.
먹에메바샤이 셔동
Mugi Meba Jawe Chirtong.
네메바샤이 셔동
Ne Meba Jawe Chirtong.
쇼주주 쇼제 치노
Jangshugi Chugi Chuno.
용서주바샤이 셔
Yongsu Zoba Jawe Chir.
나나메바
Lana Meba.
용다바
Yangdaba.
주비 쇼주에도
Zobe Jangshudu.
네바 투비 셔
Nega Tobe Chir.
소종 용다바 롱와 저고
Sojong Yangaba Longwa Jio.
달레 니바소네레 선바 용가지 지딘제네라 타니 타마타마데네 다 대제 소주고 넘바 퍼스 조바치 다 도슈 좀바 그요레
So that's the second recitation. We go to the top of the recitation again. Once we complete this third recitation, think, I have perfectly received the one-day Mahāyāna precepts.
다테 타티요 대조 dom바데 니마지마도 메아이타 다테 퍼스 조바냐니라 다 디거더니 미도 라버신 다 여러여런도기
And so think that these vows, right, it's really possible to maintain them well because they are only maintained for one day. But in this way, I'm making a perfect foundation upon which I can build additional practice.
로베 공서소
Lopen Gunsu So.
제당년저
Jidangungi.
대제셔바
Dejin Cheba.
라정바 용다바 주비 송제
Drachomba Yangdaba Zobe Sangye.
다중시 다바
Tajangi Tabu.
롱보 쳔보
Lambo Chembo.
자와시시
Jawa Jeshin.
제바시바
Jeba Jeba.
크르보와
Kur Borwa.
롱게테 지서토바
Rangi Dun Jesu Toba.
시바 건도조와 용서세바
Sipal Kundu Jowa Yongsu Zeba.
용다베까
Yangdabe Ka.
레바 넘바 조이 투
Leba Namba Jowe Tu.
레바 Leba number to Shiraji,
Lepa number Joe Sherab Chin,
Yedagi,
Dedagi,
Seje Tonje, Tenji Shadon,
Semshin Tanche Gidundu Chirtang,
Pemba Shai Shadon,
Pempa Jawe Chirtang,
Joa Shai Shadon,
Jawa Jawe Chirtang,
Magame Shai Shadon,
Mugume Bajawe Chirtang,
Neme Shai Shadon,
Neme Bajawe Chirtang,
Shuji Chino,
Janchu Gichugi Chuno,
Yonzuba Shai Shar,
Yongsu Zoba Jawe Chir,
Lana Meba Yondaba,
Lana Mepa Yandaba,
Zubi Shonju,
Zobe Janchu Du,
Nepa Tubi Shar,
Nepa Tobe Chir,
Sojo Yondaban Zaba Teja,
Ah?
Sojo Yondaban Zaba Teja,
Ale, Sojo Yondaba Zaba Deshindu, sorry.
Da Mid Shiji Chong,
Da Mindu Shiji-chan, say your name. Kedrup.
Shiji Tindani Zuite,
Tidune Sunde,
Sunima Mashaja Bada,
Sanginima Mashagi Bardu,
Senje Tonje Tenji Shadon,
Senshin Tanche Gidungi Chirtang,
Pemba Shai Shadon,
Pempa Jawe Chirtang,
Joa Shai Shadon,
Joa Jawe Chirtang,
Muge Meba Shai Shadon,
Mugu Mepa Jawe Chirtang,
Ne Meba Shai Shadon,
Ne Mepa Jawe Chirtang,
Shuji Chino,
Janchu Gichugi Chuno,
Yuzuba Shai Shar,
Yongsu Zoba Jawe Chir,
Lana Meba,
Lana Mepa,
Yondaba,
Yandabar,
Zubi Shonju,
Zobe Janchu Du,
Neba Tubi Shar,
Nepa Tobe Chir,
Sojo Yondaba,
Sojo Yandabar,
Longwa Jogo,
Langwa Ji O.
Stinyo Yobakanga, Passivo Chanetani Park Gavato Deva Pet Yadomano Sashu Samba.
So think all of my degenerated moralities connected with the individual liberation bodhisattva vows, these are purified.
Shiva Tuma Marsa Pilene Gangapa, Kola Chijabanuji Pasho Shandu so much.
All of the continuous negativities accumulated since beginningless rebirth, these are completely cleared away, just like a stream of very strong water clears away any muck.
Senji Yawameba Senji Ruzu Teja Nipa Ganga, Tapa, Siwanda, Tapas
And from this purification, my abilities to be able to benefit sentient beings, to be able to work for them with their welfare, is perfectly established. And let this begin the sort of flourishing of my practice, just like the new moon, day by day, gradually becomes a full moon. And so then now we have completed the ritual for taking the vows. So now there is just a short bit explaining the things to avoid. Yeah. And so Geshe said that one of the things, you may have noticed that he did this himself. One of the things, if you want to take this ritual really well on your own, without receiving them from the teacher, if you can memorize just that one verse, the prayer of actually keeping the precepts, then you'll be able to practice this perfectly. Sorry, not the prayer to keep the precepts, the prayer to receive the precepts, the one we just did. And so, why is Geshe sharing this with you? This is actually advice that comes from one of Lama Tsongkhapa's two main disciples, Kedrupje. And Kedrupje said that if one does not memorize the essential verse for receiving the vows, there's a doubt whether one is able to receive the vows correctly.
But of
course, Geshe said, that this is quite a long paragraph, so if it's like too much for you to memorize, then we do our best, right? And you read from the paper. So Geshe will explain a bit about the various objects to be abandoned. Dene soche micha shin. Jengi noyong long micha. Tipe chuchong michu shin. Zungi sichong mimao. So these are explaining the four root vows. I'm just going to read out the paragraph real quickly. Just as the foe destroyers of the past have abandoned all misconduct of body, speech, and mind, such as taking the lives of others, so I, for the sake of beings, abandon for one day these wrong actions and devote myself to the practice of the training.
다 야마 제찔 찾아봐이나 알레 니가 기바이나 체진와 내매봐 아까서와 어디에 바꿔 앞에다는 로시에 벌써 줘봐 다 배워 뭐지 요아레스.
So there are many benefits to abandoning killing. We talked about having a long life, being free from illness, having many... Oh, where are we? Yeah, we're right there. We're right there. Having many enjoyments and so forth. So these are the benefits of maintaining
다
those.
시와니 시와라 다 보겠다. 저는 가디나 데 벌써 줘봐 유명하게 다 전도가 요아레스 도지.
And also, of course, keeping these precepts becomes a cause to have happiness and all that we need, lifetime after lifetime.
다 총사님이 열한 거 지그러와.
And so now there is a verse about the branch practices.
시에는 뭐뭐 녀템비 시에는 뭐뭐 녀템비 라가르 총소. 라가 말로 네 말하잖아 그러와.
Yes, no. So we'll repeat after Geshe. Yeah, Josh.
그래 시에는 뭐뭐 녀템비
Kyuni mambo nye tempe.
총은 용서 뽕와샤.
Chani yongsu pangorja.
가디나 템바 템보 다네 더 다시 벌써 줘봐 대야겠지.
So from abandoning intoxicants, this allows us to have a better memory and to maintain continuous mindfulness, which helps us benefit others.
저때 제도 마샤시.
Chiten chetu michashin.
대제 디마 임비시.
Dejin duma yimpeze.
다 저때 제도 마샤와다 처첨보 대 첨보 다 들어가지기 받지세면나. 어떤이 마존은 tani 쉐와는 소소를 다 이치 진을 먹어 다 기저도 다 소대 예대 벌써 더 도야레스.
So it is said that by abandoning sitting on high seats and so forth without an important purpose, for example, speaking the Dharma, if we abandon the practice of high seats, this cultivation of humility becomes a cause for, in lifetime to lifetime in the future, others to be able to have confidence in us, to believe what we say.
디마 이미 시 바꿔야 되겠다네. 다 소지 마도 받아 다 소소이너래 예레이너래 다 칼로 아빠게 벌써 줘봐 보게 루시아토야.
And to abandon eating at improper times, in other words, after the noontime meal, this creates the cause to lifetime and lifetime in the future until we achieve enlightenment, be able to have all of the food and resources we need.
저때 제도 마샤시 대제 디마 이미 신로서와 아니
Dejin duma yimpeze. Dene jidang chengwa gendang ni.
지도 청와 제도나
Jidang chengwa gendang ni.
가도 러서 뽕와샤
Gadang lungso pangwarja.
아까서와 소소가와 대바이나요 다 보게 좀 중식 먹어와지 강가 가워서야 보게
And so when we abandon ornaments and perfumes and so forth, from abandoning adorning ourselves with scent, what happens is that in future lifetimes we will have the scent of ethics or morality. This is a natural body scent which will be pleasing to others. And from abandoning singing and so forth, the sound of our voice in future lifetimes will become pleasant for others to listen to. Jita drachum taduni. Socio laso pongwa tar. Dejin sanse laso pong. Dunga mangchu jiktendi. Lame jonchu nyotob sho. So Geshe said too, we are abandoning all of these activities in order to be able to, and Geshe changed the last line, instead of freeing from the ocean of existence, he said, for the sake of leading beings to unsurpassed enlightenment. And so in this way we have recited the main part of the ritual as well as the commitment prayer to keep the precepts. So now we are going to finish with reciting the mantra of morality. Yeah, that right there. Yeah. Om Amoga Shila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahāshuddha Sattva Pama Vibhushita Bhuja Dara Dara Samanta Avalokite Hum Pe Svaha. Om Amoga Shila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahāshuddha Sattva Pama Vibhushita Bhuja Dara Dara Samanta Avalokite Hum Pe Svaha. Om Amoga Shila Sambara Bara Bara Mahāshuddha Sattva Pema Vibhushita Bhuja Dara Dara Samanta Avalokite Hum Pe Svaha. So Geshe said, you may know this. Usually it's recited 21 times, but as we're limited for time, we'll settle for 3.
어떤 던지게 대체 소주 대지도 되는 유네가 유네도 자니 놀래 챘네라 챘네 베이 챘네 무시겠더니 아마더니요. 네번네발레라.
Yeah.
맞을 롱토 봤더니 로지. 시고 먹어야 돼.
So there are many stories about the power of these precepts. For example, there were simple laymen and lay women in Nepal and Tibet who were even illiterate, but they were able to learn how to take and maintain this ritual, and in this way achieved liberation and so forth.
어다 주인이 뭐다 들어가서 말해서 마치는 말에서 기계 고로게 다 주대지 로지대 치근디 왔다나.
And so these stories are not just kind of like empty fables, but they are based on the things that actually happened.
기계 고로고 뭐 이치 때문에 쉬면 돼 와서 아마 됐더니 네가 더 연하면 아마도.
네, loso.
아마 던지가
Yeah.
셀 롱토 봤더니 로지.
네.
기계 고로라 뭐 이치 때문에 오면 돼 와.
And so this particular story is about a lady who maintained these precepts and was able to have quite some high siddhis or spiritual attainments, but her own teacher kind of doubted her capacities.
아까서 또 봤더니 쉬드 때는 타마 얘네 롱토 여봐서 워시 좋더니 로지 할래야더니 내스 왔어.
But then at the end, through kind of various things happening, it became very clear that she was completely realized.
어다 알렉데 뒤한 로지 녀모요 할때지 마칼시.
And so Geshe said we're at the end of our time, but he promises to share this story next time.
다 가빈 거네 되네 겨요 보고 좋아.
So then, with a very happy mind, let us dedicate the merits. We'll just recite the prayers we usually do. Jangju semju rinpoche maje panam jejur chi chewan yamba meba yang gone gondu bewa sho tongni tawa rinpoche maje panam jejur chi chewan yamba meba yang Gone gondo bewa sho jambe bao jidar kyamba dan kundu zambo deyan dejinte deda kungi jesu dalo jir gewa dida dang jirabdungo dusun shebe gyawa tamshegi ngawa gangla chodu ngabade dagi gewe tsawa dikun kyang zambo jeje rabdu ngawa gi.
소들이 돈발래 바대서 시비롱 제서도 쓰이나 이거 벌써 뭐 뭐도 요르다 니니 발라 때니 다른 좀 멀린데라 이나 뭐게 맞추 내가서 봐 어따테지 간가 요네도 봐셔와지.
Through the merit of receiving these one-day precepts today, as well as all of the collective merits of sentient beings, we dedicate this to the dissipation of the problems in the world, the terrible wars and conflicts that are raging in the world, the diseases, famine, and so forth. May these be completely cleared away.
네소설의 요기 센치를 주다 강에대 돌리 돈이 다 파게 대체버지 돈이 다 칼칼이 가는 돈이 다 수지 사람도.
May all of those beings inhabiting the three lowest realms of samsara, may they slowly be purified, go to the higher realms and lifetime to lifetime, slowly reach enlightenment.
님에게 부바 우리 말아서 개인이 받고 그것을 봐주바지.
May the power of our merits shine upon them like the warmth of the sun, giving every assistance. And may they in turn reach enlightenment and become a sun shining upon beings for their benefit.
오야 다 디디치든지 스테리테 다마 호텔에서는 원래 간 로케에서 든지나 오가래요.
Yeah, yeah. So Geshe said that we will end the ceremony here because he's aware that on this special day people might have other things that they want to go and do. So we will leave it here for today.
어느 월로 소속 디세다 요비가라 녀초를 순이 두자가라 이는 대지 소주가 다 배에 그마지 시에사와르든 순이 유지 바지 지제.
And so Geshe said, for those of you who have time tomorrow, during the 10 a.m. teaching, Geshe is actually explaining the purification practice of the confession of downfalls. So as part of tomorrow's session, beginning at 10 a.m., Geshe will also explain a little bit more about the various benefits of this particular practice and the things that can purify. Yeah, and so Geshe said also for those of you who are have received Vajrayana empowerment and are practicing Vajrayana, he also wanted to continue with the Vajrayogini teaching today. So he looks forward to seeing folks for that as well. And so in this way, right, we begin our day with positive Dharma activities and hopefully continue it. So let us rejoice in those merits.
Oh yeah,
yeah, Jisa. So take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
This one.